lot of women, specifically Black women, that have pursued business and have not been able to find love in marriage. Not saying that that is necessary, but we're seeing it at an increase. So around that, because I know the last time you spoke around the pursuit of career and marriage, there was some controversy. But is it possible?
Me?
No, not you, not you, not you, not you. But is it possible? The likelihood of finding both or having to choose one or the other. Thoughts around that?
So again, this is so individual, and I want to be clear. So oftentimes the controversy you speak of course, we're talking about bus driver gate, my now infamous conversation with Jan Levon's aunt, where I was, of course, asked.
I don't think that's the first video that I was pulling up. I might have spoiled it a little bit, but let me. Was that the first video? I'm rusty, man. I am rusty. No, this is it right here. Let's see.
A lot of women, specifically Black women.
Maybe that was it. Here we go.
Would I date a bus driver? And my answer was if he owned the bus. Now, there was a lot of subtext to that, but essentially what I'm communicating very unapologetically, and I stand 10 toes down on it today in this conversation and probably for eternity, I would ideally like to partner romantically with a man who is similarly positioned, not just fiscally. So we're talking about income, because a lot of the kind of reaction and retort and pushback to my statement was, well, Eboni, there are bus drivers that earn a significant amount of money. And in some big cities, depending on who you drive the bus for and the capacity, there are absolutely $175,000 a year bus drivers. That is true. I knew that before that conversation, and I know it now. But I'm actually talking about something in addition to the income stream. And then we can have a different conversation about what is a lot of money depending on where you live and your lifestyle preferences, which I think is worth unpacking, but put a pin in that for now. Let's just say, in addition to income, I'm also talking about, again, the way you calculate things like risk tolerance, right? So you guys are entrepreneurs, and so there's an element of risk tolerance that we all know is required for those of us who seek to start businesses, build businesses, and sustain businesses. And like a lot of my girlfriends who earn a lot of money and choose not to be in entrepreneurship, they do so because something that's really important to them, guys, is the stability. It matters to them to get that check every 2 weeks. And I deeply respect that. So this is not shaming people that work a job or have a career in which they get a W-2 for it. But this is just about me living enough. I'm 40 years old. I've been married and divorced. I've ended a long-term engagement that I was in, for, relationship for 4 years, cohabitating, and I've dated plenty. Okay, plenty. And thus I've been able to learn that the best match for me romantically and otherwise, if you're going to do life alongside me, I really do better, guys, with gentlemen that understand and appreciate risk tolerance, that like on those lean years, because we all know when you start a business, the first 3 to 5 years, easily you're taking a loss. And that's if your business sustains to make it past that introductory phase. Can you ride that with me? Or is it going to be a problem? And I speak from experience. When I was engaged to my first husband, he proposed to me and made a decision to want to marry and do life alongside me. I was a 6-figure earning attorney. I worked for a law firm. I got a big 6-figure relative at that time. I was like, 26 years old, a nice 6-figure check every 2 weeks. That is who he said, I want to be my wife. During our engagement, I made the decision like, you know what, this like law practice in this capacity is cool, but it's not really my jam. I quit my job. And then I pursued what has now become a really blessed career in broadcasting and all these things. But the point is, I took a massive risk. And that was not a risk that particular gentleman wanted to take. He felt like it was very threatening. There was a lot of fear. And I'm just not doing that. I didn't do it then. It was a big reason that led to our divorce. And I'm certainly not going to do it now at my big age. So I think that it's important to talk through when, depending on, again, your lifestyle choices, the ways in which you make money decisions, and how much risk tolerance, how much is autonomy important, how much is security important, how much is living in a certain space important, for instance, right? Like I live in Manhattan in New York. That's because that's the best place to do what I do at the highest level at this time. But if I need to be, I'm also in LA once a week for Judge Eboni. So there's a bicoastalness to my nature. Is a guy who is not in that same headspace for his own life going to be tolerant or appreciative of some of these big, massive lifestyle misalignments? And those are things I think we have to really be honest about, even if they don't sound so sexy or so kind.
I apologize for the length, but Black women struggling to find love in marriage. That's what she was asking. That was her response. What do you guys think about that?
Man, she said a lot, man. And honestly, like, so some of the things she said, like when she talked about with him having not wanting her to keep the job, a lot of times people take that as, hey, he wanted me to just stay in and work. No, he just didn't like the plan that you was doing. You just went up and quit your job and didn't have nothing in order. So of course he's gonna have some pushback, or hey, maybe you want to think about that. You know what I mean? Maybe you want to try this because your options, you going from a lawyer to, you know what I mean, a internet person. He probably don't understand, you know what I mean, what you're trying to do. So of course he's going to have some pushback on that. But a lot of times people want to say, oh, it's because he used the money that he was bringing in. No, if I know for sure she married somebody that had his stuff together, because if not, she wouldn't be with him, right? So it's not the fact that she want the money, but a lot of people, they always tend to focus just on the money rather than the decision making process. So that was one of the things that I wanted to say. I can let some other brothers talk.
All right. Hey, Trev, what you think about it, Trev?
She has some valid points because I could see why a lot of men wouldn't want to deal with a woman who's making that type of money, because there's a lot that comes with that, right? She's not going to be able to pour into you as much because she's so busy doing her thing, trying to get her life together. And that's not what a lot of men want in a wife. There are some women who know how to balance it, but most don't, right? And pretty much like KS used to say, you're going to price yourself out of the dating market, because if you have the desire to be, or you just are, right? Most women just are hypergamous, whether we want to believe it or not, right? Most women are. And but if they left to their own devices, they're always going to choose somebody who makes more money than them, right? So once you start to make that type of money, your options deplete, because the median income for Black men is close to about 49,000, 50,000, that range. That's what the median income is. So once you get that kind of money, he's not going to be able to do the same things that you do. It's so many different complications when you making that type of money, and a lot of women just become a headache, man, because you want some. And another thing I didn't mention was she has to take on a masculine role when she's that successful, and sometimes they don't know how to turn that off. Again, there's always your outliners. There are some women who know how to manage it, but again, most don't. So she's going to be in go mode all the time. That's a lot to deal with. That's not something that most men are going to want to be bothered with, to be honest. I'll leave it there for now.
All right. What about you, Professor?
You know, I looked at this from a couple different points of view. One of the things that that strike me in terms of a lot of modern professional women is they spend a lot of their time trying to plan their lives out, plan their careers out. And so while they're doing all the planning, they want a man that can fit in to their plan. But the type of man that they actually desire is not going to fit into their plan. They're going to want her on his program. So I see where she's dealing with, this conundrum of wanting a certain type of man, but not being able to find it, because the only type of man that will be able to mesh with her is one that can fit into her lifestyle. And so she's going to consistently be in this position of not finding what she wants, because what she wants is unobtainable based on the way she's already designed her life. and she's already stated that she's not going to change. And we already know that people, when they get of a certain age, they're already set in their ways. So I don't see them, I don't see this working out. And I think a lot of women are in this dilemma. And now she's 40. She's been talking about trying to have children. So she's been going through the process of having a child on her own, frozen eggs and so forth. I'm just I'm just not seeing how this particular design can work.